Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives. It is Monday, December 20th, 2021. Welcome to all the broadcast entities who are carrying us live, MTV on air and online, Mikey Live, TNR Communications, Partygrenada, KG9, Sister Isles in Carriacou, and Pity Martinique. Good morning to the brothers and sisters there, and to everyone else joining us this morning. We welcome you to the broadcast. Well, it is Christmas. Well, Saturday is Christmas, yes. So we're not counting too much now. We're just in that time. Trust everyone is waking up and feeling A-okay. Just in case you're not, trust it gets better as the day goes along. I am Brenda Baptiste, and as usual, here with me is Santa Claus. Santa and his, I don't know what to call the other one, but it is a pleasure to welcome for our final show of 2021 these wonderful gentlemen who's really carried this show for the entire year. It is a pleasure to present to you for the final time in 2021, Senator Christopher Allie and Santa himself, Mr. Byron Campbell. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Brenda, and good morning to all our viewers and listeners. It's great to be here again and to do the show. I certainly won't want to be called an elf this morning.
No, you see, I didn't go there at all. I didn't go there.
Santa looks lovely in his red shirt.
And the tie, it's like Santa took his time.
Hey, come on.
Yeah, he understands the Christmas assignment.
It's Christmas week.
I just see a lot of the soil of them because the soil is, as red as the shirt.
It's Christmas.
But Brenda, did you notice the lovely moon we had last night? Even into this morning?
I did.
Yes, it was beautiful.
And we woke up to a day, the moon is greeting us.
It just came into my bedroom. At one point, I just jumped up. I'm like, oh Lord, I overslept. Yeah. And then I was like about 1:45 because it was like on my bed.
Yeah,
I
think we had today started off with a 10 out of 10.
Was it a full moon?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Up to this morning when I'm leaving home, it's still there.
Yeah. Yes, it's still up.
Very
it's still up. Yeah.
So, Santa, tell us what's happening.
Good morning. It's Christmas week, and but Gemma does this to me. I'm not going to take.
Oh yes, we have to give the credit to Mrs. Campbell.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Says, look, it's Christmas, and come on, man.
That's right. Represent.
Yes. You have to give. So a year. We ended the year. There's a lot of assessment, evaluations. How did we do this year? What did we talk about this year?
You asked me no hard question this morning.
Yeah. Chris, I
now
want to start with you
because before we get into the year though, for all we say, like a lot of people, like this weekend, all this week leading up into this weekend, you're talking to people and they're saying, well, Christmas, I ain't really doing much. Even I was saying that to myself. I ain't bothering with the Christmas too much. And then all of a sudden,
ting take you. Spirit ting take you.
You this thing that just sweep in from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming in from. But anyway, I was saying, regardless of what your belief system is, what you believe about, God or whatever, it is just a special time. There's just this feeling associated with it that it is, is euphoric, it is warm, it is fuzzy, it is friendlier than the rest of the year. I just wanted to make that point.
It's a time of sharing and giving. Special time.
Yeah.
And people, there's a certain mood.
There's something that happens.
That catches
you
on.
think it's a hormone that is show up in our bodies at that time of the year?
Yeah,
something's work, something's there.
It's a lovely time of the year. Outside is cooler, the vibes.
Hey, something that relates to, this relates to Christmas, yes, no. It is about alcohol consumption, Chris. And why I want to make this point is interesting because I was down at the breweries this week. You collect all these bottles, empties during the year because you buy 6-pack, and so you have a couple of crates and you bring it down. And I was there, and I like to talk a lot, and so I'm inquiring about volume consumption. And I learned that there are 7 trucks per day. Each truck carries 600 cases. That's 100, and I noted 100,800 carat beers. Well, beers this includes Guinness. 100,000. We could run it off as 100,000. 5 days a week. That's 500,000 beers that is just distributed weekly. This is not counting, by the way, a lot of people go there and buy directly also. So 100,000, and that's not counting probably what goes to carriacou. So 500,000 a week is a lot of alcohol consumption. Let me, and certain things meet me in the community also. So here's the backside of it, yeah? There's a youngster that I know personally because his mother related to me. He got a fortnight on the Bushit, not the Bushit, the other one, Farm Labor Support Program. So for that fortnight, he was entitled to $463 after NIS. He got paid on the Tuesday, right? He got paid on the Tuesday.
I don't know
And
this
on the
Thursday,
Thursday, he got Tuesday evening. On the Thursday, he asked his mother for $7 to go to town. And she says, well, where's your money? You had it. He says, well, I'm saving it, Mom, I don't want to spend it. She said, well, okay, fine. Evidence, show me. Couldn't show her. Most of the money went to meeting his death related to beers. There's an extreme high amount of beer consumption, but that's the downside to it, in that. But and a lot of this beer consumption is by young persons also.
Right.
And he easily says, look, he can consume 24 beers in one. He can consume a case of beer in one evening.
Yeah.
Without money because it goes on credit, and that's
at the shop.
Right. So it's and that's not counting spirits. I'm talking about Clark's Court because someone told me again in the village shop that look. My biggest sale is Clark's Court, beers, and cigarettes.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of the money is going. So I think it's something that we need to flag just in terms of level of alcohol consumption because there's going to be a further, in the medium, long term, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Not unhealthy.
You're talking and I'm working it out in my head.
Yeah, yeah. So
Grenada Breweries, well, no longer Grenada Breweries, Carib Grenada Limited has now gone past 1 million cases a year, easy.
Yeah, well, do the maths,
And I say we because I'm part of that group.
Right, it's part of your group.
Yes, we have been doing that about 2-3 years now. So that, but we also export a lot. That is something you need to also take into consideration. So a lot of consumption, yes, we have increased consumption. The increased consumption by demographic seems to be on the female side as well,
Yes.
because of Stag and the lower and Heineken and so on. So there is that side of it. But yes, like every other alcoholic beverage, it needs to be controlled. You need to put checks and balances in place to ensure that
what it also shows is that in terms of the intake for the companies, just the fact that these companies are doing well, and probably the question could be asked or probably could be examined, how much of their corporate social responsibility are they picking up, to match the intake they are having, and what are they doing in terms of education and support, and additionally, we always had this conversation about these little vice taxes that should be put on the tobacco and the alcohol. So we see that if we go to do it, it will be easy because the intake is a lot because the demand is huge.
Well, we have huge excise taxes already on cigarette and alcohol consumption, so it is there.
But I would press your company, Chris, to well, not your company, but the one you're affiliated with, and that's an important point. What was the social responsibility here, and are they willing to put resources towards the advice on it, advisories on it? The implications of excessive consumption.
We do a lot of CSR. I mean, the group, the Ansamakar group, through our companies here. So Citizens, for example, would have donated paints to paint the prison. As a social thing. We have done the Monge Hospital. Right. So there are these projects that we get engaged in. Carib as well. Carib will sponsor things in the health sector. So when we had COVID, we did a huge amount with in terms of manufacturing sanitizers and so on, and to give away. And
there's always a discussion though that Carib as the brand and Carib as the entity, although you're part of a conglomerate, if you will, does not do enough. I mean, I remember my involvement with Carnival and so on. It just never matched, you know, and if they put in a dime, they want a dozen. Yeah. And, you know, you just have to be more, I think, just give a little more and just be a little more generous. Well, and, you know, a little bit more diplomatically elegant.
Yes. Chris, you don't have that.
No. That could be argued for every company in any situation. Yeah, that is. You could always ask that there should be more. And so I think part of the issue is how we plan what we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we, for example, you see a lot of murals going around the country. Citizens is a big part of that. We donate all the paint for that, and that helps with the psyche.
Citizens has really.
So we do, but sometimes we don't say a lot of what we do, and that is probably another issue that has to be addressed.
So you don't know.
The companies give back a lot in Grenada's context in terms of, especially our group. We know we are into businesses that do well, so we give. We don't blow the trumpet all the time, but I mean that is part of it.
Something upsetted me on the weekend.
Well,
let me tell you what. No, but not upset at me, but I think it's important. It's about cricket. And Chris, we came in here this morning, we noticed
the chairs have been
removed and refurbishment and so on is taking place. I'm happy about that. Yeah. So cricket, here's the thing. India is playing Pakistan. Students are on their phone, WhatsApp, chatting with each other. This student, Indian student, made an unfavorable comment about the Indian cricket team. In other words, essentially, at the end of the game, Pakistan won. He congratulated Pakistan. You know, he's in prison 2 months now, and lawyers are refusing to represent him in court. I'm saying boycott Indian cricket. I mean, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And the reason being, it's what statement against the country. I mean, it's like rubbish. I mean, West Indies sometimes play and they play rubbish. I back the other team.
Yeah. Well, we culturize differently.
Yes, I was about to say that, Brenda.
Culturized.
2 months in jail and lawyers are refusing to represent him.
We have now entered a world that we cannot.
And that's for his own safety. That's for his safety. That's for his.
No one could try that.
Indians, remember in the Indian society, when the team fail, they burn down houses. They get on. The reaction is almost.
No, I'm boycotting Indian cricket.
It's really.
You're not watching the IPL?
No, I'm not. No.
So it's one of those things.
Some of our stars, they go out there and they make they make real money. But this year, not many West Indian cricketers made it to the IPL.
I can.
Before we get into what went on last year, let's look at what went on last week. And before I get into that, I would like to congratulate our dear senator friend here on a really, really, really sterling presentation at the Senate. I was quite busy last week, but I took the time to pay some attention. Yes. And I'm looking on, I say, so he say he leaving? He say this is he last? Where you really going? We need these. This is what we need.
The experience, the wisdom.
This is what we need in the Senate, because the Senate is so refreshing because it provides a different point of view. There's also a really nice demographic mix of, the gender and experience as well, and education. And then, the president of the Senate is one of my favorite humans. He takes no prisoners. He says it as it is. And every time you listen to him, you learn something. At least that's what I believe. Whether you like him or not is not a matter for. And he doesn't care. Just let's respect and honor that. Yeah. But it was Senator Allie, congratulations. I seriously mean this. I am doing this. I want paint. I did a really, really, really fantastic job. I think all of you really, but I think you brought a sort of balance, especially when we got to the point of the vaccine debate and just how you were able to talk about business and how it impacts. And there were times as well that I figure inexperience or some things that was presented, there was an opportunity for you to, shed light, but you never made the presenter who probably didn't know look any less. All you did was lift it, and I appreciate it. Maybe because you're not a politician. Yeah. So you were able to do that. So
I'm certainly not a politician, but
Hold on, Chris. I'm going to comment first.
I already know. Go on, my brother.
Yeah, let me catch myself. Yeah, I too join in congratulating, but not just you, but the entire debate and discussions for the week. And the fact that you acted as you deputized consistently during the session.
Yes.
That is very skillful by itself, how you manage the process. I think two things that I want to raise. One, I recognize the president for the strong statement regarding child sexual violence and our inaction here. Yeah, so that we can talk about. But you, Senator, excellent presentation. Clearly, preparation was in place. You know.
Yes.
You learned a lot of things on perspective, by the way. But there's one item you said.
Thanks for that. That is why I'm here.
Santa Claus really showed up this morning, boy. Santa Claus supposed to give, not take away.
There's one matter you spoke about, and I'm looking for clarification because here's my take on it. Has to do with your discussion on the question of energy and making the point of that we should not abandon at this point natural gas. But here's the thing about natural gas that I found out, that natural gas is a pollutant, particularly its release of methane gases, both in the production and in the transportation stages of it. Some countries are using it as a transitionary process towards renewable energies. But if we're going to meet the Paris numbers, we have to treat natural gas in the same way we treat it as coal. We have to come out of it altogether because it is a fossil fuel. So explain to us, what is your point vis-a-vis at this point that we should still consider natural gas?
So here it is from where I sit.
But congratulations.
Thank you.
Accept that, yeah.
The methane gas is a natural gas emitter around us. Yeah. Methane gas happens everywhere.
Yeah. Animals,
everything. So methane gas is not as deadly as, say, CO2 emissions. When natural gas burns, it burns much cleaner with very little or not at all any CO2. And CO2 is a problem for us in terms of emissions and what is happening there and climate change and all that goes on with CO2. So burning of natural gas is a much cleaner burn than you will get with any other fossil fuel. So diesel, for example, gas, for example.
It's the lesser of all evils.
It's the lesser of all evil. But what does it do to Trinidad, for example, have been burning natural gas for years, decades. And that is why the unit cost per kilowatt in terms of energy is so low because of the cost versus diesel and all of the other heavy oils. So my thing is, if we have to transition, you can't, in my view, we would never get out of fossil fuel to some degree, especially in burns. And even though we were to transform the whole of Grenada into PV technology, I'm not sure we could get it up to the point where we could have 5 megawatts, 10 megawatt engines that we have now to supply and the demands that will come with our development trust through hotels and so on. And consistency of supply as well. So you have to marry all and have a proper mix. And my thing is that if we have to mix and still burn, move from diesel and go to natural gas because it's cheaper, it's cleaner, and all of that. It has its risk, as everything else has its risk, storage and so on. But I don't think the methane is a big issue as the CO2. Yes, it exists. Yes, there are some issues, but it's not as big as the CO2 issue. So that's my thinking on it.
Okay.
So it is a balance of all of those variables to see how, with the PV and with going and electric vehicles and all of that, that is the way to go and to balance. But you must balance that
combination.
Yes, and a consistent supply and a reliable supply and all of that and so forth. So there is those variables that you need to consider. And if we have to burn, as I think we will have to burn, in the next so much years, natural gas is the way to go. You know, and that is my thinking.
Okay, I just want some clarification.
Yeah, we did a really good job. And I also was quite impressed by Senators Sincere and Sinclair. People get the names mixed up. One is a Sear and one is a Clear. So Roderick Sinclair and Tessa Sincere. They were well prepared, both of them, and very, very, very good presentations. I did not get to see the senator for Labor, nor the other senator, Senator Rolanda McQueen, and there's another one I think I missed. But Senator Judd Cadet was really good as well. I guess that was his finale.
Yes,
that was his last one.
Supposed to be going off.
Went out on a bang.
Yeah, I think generally the Senate debate and issues, is a little.
Regarding the legalistic side of the vaccination issue, I thought Senator Ketisha Williams, she gave real volume to that and added real richness and a depth to it. That
young, bright senators.
Yes, I trust we all understand. But for me, there was the takeaway from the Senate for me was when Senator Cox said, and I have it here, somehow we are called to respond as if we weren't in a pandemic. That was a statement of the debate for me, because that is a big deal. We are really behaving as if it's normal times, it was really, really brilliant. I mean, how you guys, so you all should be commended. And that kind of late night thing, don't try that again.
Yeah, right. None of us want that. You were saying something, Byron? Let me deal with the Senate issue so I can get it off.
Well, you want to get it off?
Yes.
No, but overall, I heard the Senator for Agriculture was making some points, which I agreed to. But one of them dealing with Priti Alasani, and how you apply technology to better manage this area. And I think, and the other point he was making, to what extent is the current plan for this year ties into the longer term plan. He explained that he didn't see a lot of synergies there, that he was a bit disjointed in his comments. But so I thought it was, my question to you, Chris, is that who's listening, who's taking notes, so that we can, because the Parliament should be a place where it should be not just noted but acted upon. So even a budget is presented based on the debate, based on discussions, the analysis, and the conclusion, you still have an opportunity to tweak that budget and to bring it in line.
I think let's take it Priti Alasani. When Senator Sinclair mentioned the main issue for him under Priti Alasani, as he said, yes, there's a technology, yes, there's extra funds put to it. But there was this disconnect with the police. The rural constables not having the power to arrest and to act as police. And I think the government senators took that on board. They accepted that is an issue and it's something they're trying to see how they can rectify. I mean, so we have made stiffer penalties and so on, but that disconnect, there is something. There is transport, there was more money given for transport,
not to lose that point, Senator Allie, I found that everything that was raised, there was a response to. It was either happening already in the process of, or even when bills were brought to the floor and the amendment, there were things that were addressed that could enrich whatever. I was disappointed with the public health one. I felt everybody basically said the same thing, but in the end, people said no. I'm like, why are you saying no? You just stand up and make this brilliant argument. Why you could be saying no?
Well, some of it is the politics within the Senate. And some parties don't like to appear that they're losing, and there's a political overtone to it, which at some time it interferes with the substance and the content of the discussion. And that is natural because.
And some of the notes were emotional, so they were not deep notes.
But you always have to. The politics is always there, and it will be there. I mean, that is the nature of the House. But you just have to manage it, and we try in the Senate to keep that minimum and keep things in terms of content and substance. And what is going to be the
Senate's
effect?
Policy. It's really policy.
And what is going to be the effect? That's right. To the ordinary man who will see these changes flowing through and how it may affect their life.
I thought it was rich. I thought it was very, very learning. Young person should look at this program.
And the decorum was kept because we're spicy. So anybody sought
the discipline there was. procedures and all of that.
Yes,
I thought overall very, very good.
It's excellent.
So this is recorded. We can go back and look at this.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things in Parliament. Parliament tends to be a boring thing, depending on what you're discussing, the laws and so on. So people, especially our young people, tune out. Where they should tune in to listen to certain debates. I don't say they have to listen to everything.
Because in the tuning out, what they then do is to they turn up the volume on their opinions, not fact, on their opinions on places like social media. Or there are times we even see them in places like the news as talking heads saying things that are not correct or that they don't even know. So if when you follow things like the Senate proceedings and all of that, you really get a wide understanding of what is happening. Even with this week with the angst, and we all should be angry about that. Why are we not very angry and as Senator Humphrey said, and doing what we need to do about that? I don't know. But anyway, even with that, as you listen to people on radio stations and talk shows and so this week, talking about, everybody was talking about how heinous the act was. And, what should have happened with the gentleman and so on and so forth. But then the wider and broader conversation was everybody just saying this thing that we don't have laws. And every time I heard, I just say, what y'all saying? I mean, there are so many I think the most laws in the last 10 years has had to do with sexual crimes. How is it that somebody could go before, let's say, Justice Paula Guilford, get 30 years? It's the same law. And somebody goes before another person and they get 5 days. It is the same
Slap on
law.
your wrist.
The law is there. People, the law is there. Do your research. The problem is the application. When it gets to the judicial, what happens in the courts, right? I don't know what happens. That's the problem.
What we forget in law, Brenda, is that when you put it in the law books, it is at a maximum. Judges and magistrates have a certain amount of discretion as to the application of the maximum. Now, what determines the actual sentence is the presentations that's made on both sides on the not so much evidence, because sentencing is a different thing too. So the guy pleaded guilty. Now it's coming to sentencing. Now you have to take in all factors about this gentleman in sentencing. So when we come to sentencing, it's another little trial of itself. So you bring in character weaknesses, you bring in all these things to talk about the person if it's a first timer and all of these things, and a repeat offender, and all of that will impact what happens in the sentencing and the application of the sentence to the maximum. And I don't know exactly what the magistrate considered in this case, but obviously it was one that appeared to be very low in terms of what the penalties were.
Chris, I heard you. My position on this is that a sexual predator regarding a baby,
5 years is a baby.
5 years. Was tried, found guilty.
But
another jurisdiction.
Admitted guilt.
The U.S. jurisdiction, where the crime was not committed. This took it on. And 30 years could happen there. Something is wrong here, absolutely. And I agree with, I think the president of the Senate was talking about it, who feels that the judiciary should be,
the wrong is not the absence of laws.
This is not right. Something's wrong here. It's not kosher, so to speak. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
There is an emotional side to this, as there should be, and all of that. And lawyers don't have the privilege of being emotional in certain things, and so too as magistrates.
But some of them are. Because this week some of them have come out, and it is just sad. Because what they should be doing is to be edifying the public. That's part of their role. But they have come out to blame the government for laws. How you reach there? You're the judiciary. How we reach there?
And there must be separation.
Correct, there is separation.
The government can't get involved.
How you come into that?
The thing is,
it is now at your door.
When judgments are made by judges and magistrates, there is a consideration of what can happen in society as well when they're making a judgment. So judgment is based on a lot of precedents and cases and so on and so forth, and the content of the case, what happened and so on. But they also have to consider what can happen in society as well, because the judgment affects the society in general. So that is, and probably you could argue in this case that judgment, the judicial officer at the time ruling, obviously didn't take into consideration the reaction of the community and the impact.
And you have to take that into consideration.
And that must be taken into consideration, I think.
I'm sure, because
that
is the biggest fallout, because remember, justice, it has to be equitable, so that is the biggest fallout. But I just think that we should all become a little more responsible, and anytime we're going to go on radio and television and have these big discussions and entertain callers and so on, it is just wise to find someone who knows, because you're informing, you're educating, and you're entertaining. So let's just pay more attention to the informing part. I would like to see that. We have a lot of laws on it.
So Byron, what is your take on these dead bodies that was found off our coast? And I know it's about 7 boats now, eh?
Seven boats,
in the region.
In the region.
Something seems to be happening,
from Tobago,
and most are coming from Africa. One thing I tell you, those boats are well built.
Well, I mean,
they float well.
But you know what struck me in this is the desperation of these guys. These are boats without engines.
Without engines. So they're coming from Africa. From
Africa, crossing the Atlantic.
No, they're trying to go to the Azores, those islands.
The
Azores, yeah.
Oh.
And it's amazing.
And so that's it's a desperation.
It's a desperation to take that trip. Knowing you have an engine on the boat and you're planning to
or not they left without an engine or
no, well, most of the little ones, the smaller ones, the one in Tobago was a bigger one, like a double decker, but this one was obviously, the others are small boats.
The one in Tobago was the biggest one.
And those are without engines, or if they lost it. I mean, but there was no signs of engines. I mean,
they lost it.
The thing that really bothers me, that is the desperation of our humans, you know, and what's happening. And
it's sad.
You know, we could bring it right in the Caribbean here with Haiti and what's going on there with,
because there really is this need to leave.
Yes.
So they are risking it all.
Everything.
Everything. And these are loved ones. These are maybe young men, women with children, and
all
these are
children,
family.
There are children amongst the dead.
So and that's probably the tip of the iceberg, because the majority of them would be sinking.
Yeah, and you know,
that's correct. That's what we're
finding. It's the first time in the Caribbean we actually see it affecting us, and that they came into Caribbean waters. And it's one of those things that is really.
Once you leave the coast of West Africa and you start moving,
that's right.
You are going to end up on this side.
And that is, you know, and the West African thing, you know, we attach to West Africa through slave trade, through what is our culture, the foods we eat. It's very similar to what happens in Western Africa. So
it's really.
It is one of those things I thought was, you know, really impactful there, what is happening there with the desperation.
And it has to do with the whole refugee issue in Europe, because that's where that population is more or less headed to.
And now they're blocking them off.
And setbacks, and exactly. So
let's move to more positive news.
But something I want, because I know we want to look at 2020 in terms of but before we go on, there is a creeping phenomenon now. It's called cryptocurrencies, you know, and that whole. And you're a businessman, Senator, and that whole issue, you know, and we see it's gaining strength in the region. Also, we have a number of crypto investors and interest persons looking at the Caribbean because there's less restrictions. It's completely legal, though. I want to tell you, growing. And we've learned recently that the government of Grenada has appointed Justin Sun, who is a crypto investor, as his representative at the World Trade Organization. I mean, this is interesting, though. I've not gone deeper into look at the pros and cons, but clearly, it's a new area of investment. It's a new area of interest. I know, like Barbados is taking a keen interest there. I know the Bahamas is quite active there. Chris, what should we be aware of in terms of this new emerging, which some persons are predicting are going to be that's the future, you know, because it's a digital currency where you can purchase services and goods and services. So what should we be aware of, and what's the potential for it?
Well, I mean, my take on this is that when you look at the trends that's happening, let's take our own region. Let's start with our own region, of course. I'll deal with the appointment in a while, but let's take our own region and what ECCB is doing in terms of moving from traditional notes into digital transactions and digital money, and using the blockchain platform to securitize and ensure that there is security across the trade. What is happening, I think, is as a result of small islands like us and jurisdictions have been under pressure for years with correspondent banking.
Yeah.
Where if you have to trade internationally and you have to trade in US dollars or whatever dollars, you have to use a correspondent bank in either in Europe or in the US or Canada to effect the trade business to business.
Yeah.
And over the years, we have been threatened by these correspondent banks that our jurisdictions and the risk in terms of money laundering and so on, we're very small and they don't see the need to entertain us because of the risk from such a small level of transactions. So that threat over the years have grown significantly. So a lot of us in this region and Asia to some extent and Africa have been moving to digital money and digital platforms and using the blockchain platform as a way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's catching on to the point where you're seeing that more and more businesses, because I could have, if I go on a blockchain site to do trade with a business in the US and we have different IDs, we could exchange and transfer money without using a correspondent bank on the platform.
In 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. So it moves it takes away the risk. You will talk about, the issue of whether or not the platforms risk associated
with it. Security.
And blockchain seems to be very secure now.
Yeah.
And what has been happening in recent times is central banks in regions of Asia and other places are now adopting the technology and saying it's a legal tender trade and so on. So once central banks start to get involved, it legitimizes the whole issue of digital transfer and digital money and getting that done. And that trend, in my view, is going to continue as we go, because now let's take cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a traded currency, but it's not traded in the sense that it gives it the level of security. So it's very volatile. So one time you have huge gains, other times you can have huge losses. The volatility of that cryptocurrency is what makes it a little bit dangerous and risky. So some businesses and some companies are hesitant to go there, but it's more and more being looked at. So people would start investing in some levels of cryptocurrency and keeping it and watching the gains. It's like stocks on the stock market. You gain and you lose. But what you're seeing is more and more interest, and as the interest grows and we get more surety on the technology and the security and securitization of all of these things, you will see that is going to be one of the modes when people hack systems now and they do the hacking and demanding of money to release your systems, what they call ransomware and so on. They ask for payment in crypto.
Because it's private.
It's private and you can't trace it.
You can't trace it.
Traceability is reduced. And the guys in FIU and so on who look at all of these international transactions, and that's the downside of these things, is that the criminal aspect of it, people who do the drugs and all this money, are going into cryptocurrency in a big way because of the same issues of traceability and being able to understand how the money is moving and so on. So that's the downside. But the upside, of course, is that as we continue in business and the world gets smaller with these transfers and so on.
And paper money disappears.
That's right. We've seen it in our region. I had the cash on my phone. We're getting more and more digital in that sense. And, the day are soon coming when nobody will write checks anymore.
No.
Right? And even with cards, you can't go in Asia and China and certain places and pay with nothing else, but you have to use a phone.
You have to
You have to have a wallet on your phone to pay. They're accepting no credit cards, no checks, no cash.
That's true.
Right? It's a cashless society in that sense. So you could see that happening here. And it's going to come. It's just how fast and how we control it. And all of us have to prepare our minds together.
It's just, and that's why I tell you, this thing about you saying you're going. That's the kind of information people need. Because at the end of the day, to understand, a lot of people don't know what cryptocurrency is. So when they hear something like, first of all, the very word, crypt. Where are we going with that? It connotes something spooky. People don't know cryptocurrency. Who is that? And then they see someone that's Asian, and you know how xenophobic we get. All of that. So it is really incumbent upon us to do financial institutions, the Bankers Association, schools, wherever, to really educate people on cryptocurrency and that sort of thing.
And it's one of those things that is going to. I mean, when you have cryptocurrency, you have it on a stick. It's not money in a wallet.
The crypto entrepreneurs are coming to the Caribbean, and Puerto Rico, interestingly, is one of the havens. Puerto Rico, interesting.
Well,
because the continental United States, there's a lot of restrictions and more regulations, so they find it easier. Even in Puerto Rico,
ATMs where you can go and load up on your crypto and convert your traditional monies into crypto.
The US have their own crypto trading, but they're very as capitalistic and exclusive. And what the Asians are doing is just going globally with it. So that's why they're having an aversion to it. But it's not to say that they're not involved.
No, but Puerto Rico is the haven.
It's one of those things that will come, and we have to prepare it. I mean, all kudos to Dr. Antoine, Timothy Antoine. I think he recognizes where this is going, and he's preparing the region, preparing the central bank to moderate digitization.
And there needs to be education here about it. When they speak about it, people should understand what this is about, because there's going to be more and more. And these are opportunities.
Yeah, if you start following people commenting on the whole thing, I mean, I tell you, the whole crypto thing have them feeling spooky. So,
because
and that is because and the spookiness is natural because you don't know. You are easily spooked by things you're not with no information you don't have.
Well, it's the future. It's this present.
You know?
And it will be. I mean, people who invested in cryptocurrency in the early days are multimillionaires.
But the fact that we're getting, well, I mean, come
because of the growth and value of the thing.
Exactly,
When crypto just came out, probably 10, 15 years ago, you were buying a coin for, say, $10. Now a coin is thousands of dollars because of the growth. I mean, yes, there have been gains and losses and so on, but I mean, the average, when you look at the average growth, it has significant value has grown. So, I mean, it's just one of those things.
But you were going to comment on the appointment to the WTO?
Yeah, well, I think the gentleman, I don't know much about him, but my read of him is that he is in that type of business, but he has great contacts. So he's a WTO thing.
WTO.
So it's about trade and contacts and who you meet and how you could leverage the situation for us. And climate change, for example, I just switched it, requires quite a lot of negotiation with countries at various levels. And people like that, I suspect, are appointed because of who they could reach based on their business and what they do. Because he's into investment in cryptocurrency and so on. So he's meeting people at a certain level that can...
And he's diversifying, I understand.
Yes.
So there's a broader...
Right. I mean, so I don't know of his deep background and security checks and all of that, but what I can say from what I've seen and understood is that he has been brought on because of his reach and where he possibly could reach the people that Grenada needs to get a listening ear depending on what we need to do.
We are looking for opportunities.
Of course. I mean, small islands like ours need to get as much people that could listen to us for give us and
I'm understanding that he's been resident here since 2019. So a bit familiar with the...
Obviously, the culture and understanding the people and so on, the country, that's important because we have sometimes appoint people who never touched it.
Right.
So, I mean, so we shall see how that develops.
Good.
The highs and lows of 2021. Let's go there.
Wow. Yeah.
Brenda, without a doubt, I mean, we're ending the year, and this is what we're hearing. I mean, it's COVID.
Dominated by COVID.
Infections are on the increase, hospitalizations are on the increase, and deaths are going to be on the increase. This is how the year is ending. But what a year, really. And I mean, in our sphere, clearly, the crisis, I call it, of August, September of this year, it was scary. I mean, I was frightened. I mean, like, I'm strong, but I was worried. I was really scared.
Me too.
I mean, we've lost 200 people.
Here
I'm talking
diaspora
about.
Is almost the same figure.
200 people in 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's so, and we're not out of it, So clearly, so how did we do? I want to recognize here the SGU really for the role they played and the volunteers and the frontline people. I think for me that was a big deal.
Well, that's a good high. I mean, yes, I think the whole of 2021 was dominated by COVID and COVID-related issues, both into the economy as well and what has happened in the economy. But to me, one of the interviews we did here that stood out was Dr. O's interview. I thought Dr. O's did such a great job in terms of explaining it and explaining it in terms that an ordinary person could associate with it. And I thought that was such a great interview and what was done there. And brought knowledge that, to try and help deal with people with their fears and other issues that they were facing with taking a vaccine. And, he dealt with the timing issue and all of that. And so I thought that was a great thing, and that was a good high for us in that time.
Absolutely.
Of course, the greatest low for me in COVID was the deaths and what has happened in that August month. We could argue as to what caused it, whether it was carnival or jab and so on. But I think we're way beyond that now, and it's all about
At some point, we were going to have our first wave.
Yes, and the issue now is management. But another high for me is that I think our government handled the crisis in 2021 extremely well.
I agree.
Both on the health side and on the economic side. People will disagree with me, and they could say it always could have been better. And I think you cited Senator Cox's statement, which reflects that. We forget that we're in a pandemic. We forget that.
That's the crux of the matter.
Yeah,
As I told you, it was a statement of the debate. Because I was like, when he said it, I was like, it was like something just shot off in my head. I was like,
everything falls into that context.
Everything.
And
everything.
When you look at countries outside of Grenada and regionally and internationally, and the pressures, South America, the African continent, and so on. Countries that have bigger GDPs than us and so on, but were struggling economically, and their population was in serious issues. We struggled, yes, we have had struggles, but it was managed well. And remember, this comes from a context of where none of us have experience in handling a pandemic.
Correct.
As I said to my senatorial colleague, Senator Sincere, I say, you have taught MPH public health for years in SU on theories that have never really
materialized,
been really tested. Now it's actually being tested, and you're seeing whether those theories are holding or not, and how you need to adjust it going forward, because we actually have empirical evidence of something that you may have taught over the years that never been tested. So for all of us, the environment has been a learning environment and a new one. And how we handled it, Minister Steele and his ministry, I think, did an absolutely great job.
Listen, I don't think that we have, I think a lot of Grenadians have a renewed, let's forget the politics now, we're talking health. When we talk health, politics need to take a back seat, for me. I think a lot of Grenadians now have more respect for Minister Nicholas Steele. A lot of people probably have even grown in admiration, if you will, but of course they won't say that, because you don't tell a politician, so you like them. No, do your work. We come in for you, right? So, but I think he led very well.
Yes.
He did a remarkable job. He took a lot of the incoming, and it was shown in those press conferences that we criticized him for. Because I believe when he started to take on the whole thing, because he carried it, so to speak, it came out in his expressions. Because he knew it was serious, he was concerned enough of what can potentially happen, and was at the front seeing what was happening. Because I'm told that our first death, he was actually at the hospital and broke down in tears and had to be comforted by the people around him. When you talk to the medical professionals at the hospital, they will tell you he was always there. Even bringing things like food for them. So somebody like that, he did a remarkable job as our Minister for Health. And we may not see it now because we're still all wound up in all of it. But I think years down the road, people would look back and say, you see that Nicholas Steele? He was a really good one.
Because remember, they're a COVID-19 committee. And the information that the COVID-19 committee will get will not be what we will get. So they will understand situations more and have a deeper knowledge of what we're supposed to do or not do, and how we're supposed to react or not react. And the population need to appreciate that as well. I think probably the most they could get in criticisms, a lot of people are saying that the messaging for COVID and encouraging people to get vaccinated probably could have been adjusted and done differently. And yes, that is a fair.
That certainly was a learning experience.
That is a fair comment.
And that's a fair comment.
And I still think there's a lot of room to improve the messaging and do it, because we still have a high hesitancy still.
Let's not lose this though, and that is one of my lows for the year, as you mentioned, vaccination. As the government got prepared to launch its vaccination program, I think Grenadians were by and large generally interested in what was being said and what was happening. And there were people that were going to get vaccinated anyway. And the rest of the nation was sitting on the fence. And then we got the AstraZeneca, and the Prime Minister and the Minister and the Commissioner of Police and all Dr. Sean Charles and all that. We saw these people get vaccinated. And then the week after they did it, I think the Wednesday, Thursday, and then the Monday, they started to roll out the vaccination program. On the Monday, there was a program on television, Beyond the Headlines, which concentrated on Europe, Belgium and wherever, banning AstraZeneca. Yeah. And just how all these negatives of what these countries had done with AstraZeneca, this was very damaging to the vaccination program. This was one of the things that planted serious doubt in the minds of the populace as they looked on. I looked at the program, one of the few I look at these days. I looked at the program and I saw how people were responding. The day after, people started to call. It was a program that stroked fear. Whilst Belgium and whoever was banning AstraZeneca and so on, we missed the point that it was geopolitical. We also missed the point that there were other studies out there and other big countries in Europe out there that were still using AstraZeneca and the millions of people. But we honed in on the fact that it was being banned. And so Grenadians immediately got this thing in their head, hey, this is no good. And so the media, some of our media people have to take some responsibility as well for where this vaccination thing has gone. That's number one. Yeah. Secondly, vaccination should never have had a political face. Vaccination, the messaging needed to have a public health and medical face. But the fact that we were all learning, growing, I guess the government was excited to bring it to the people and all of that, everything got shrouded in that. Right? And as Senator Allie said, I don't think it's too late for people to come back on board, get together, but some of the messengers are tainted, of course, because they're out there saying one thing and privately saying another. So we probably would have to go another route. But I think vaccination having the political face and the damage done in media really are the two things that has basically gutted this vaccination program.
Look, I have to support that. On the first point with Minister Steele, the two vaccinations and the booster, he was there. I mean, coincident maybe, but that tells you that he was always there,
yeah,
you know.
He was always there.
And kudos for that. And I support the view that because we still have a high hesitancy, as I said, in some communities it's as much as 80%, so it's still very high, particularly in a lot of rural communities and among young people also. So there's a lot of work to be done, recognizing, and I agree that how do we have a more targeted messaging, so we can reach more people, because clearly the COVID is not going away. And as I mentioned earlier on, numbers are going up with the new variants and even the current Delta variant. We have a lot of issue. But I think also one of the big downsides has to do with, and the World Bank reported 60% of poorest countries are in debt distress as a result of the COVID and implications. Grenada is part of that. Mm-hmm. So you look at the economic downside, and the point you're making, even with this situation, significantly reduced revenue from 2020 and 2021 is reasonable when you look at and understanding what the government has been able to achieve in terms of simple things like being able to pay salaries on time.
That's right.
Or being able to pay December salary by the 16th or by the 17th. I mean, you have to give credit to those things, how this was managed. One could always argue there could be more, but you need to be more specific and to show where it could have been happening.
What about more realistic?
Exactly,
when you're
more
arguing
realistic.
There could be more. What about more realistic?
Exactly, that's the point. So I think one has to be reasonable and understand deeply is the health part of it and the suffering of the people, but also the distress for the government, the livelihood, the distress for the government in managing a situation when expectations remain high, where you need to come forward and provide all these how you call those things, Chris, that the government provided?
Stimulus
packages. Yeah. You have to give credit to this. But I think the also, and this is a more global issue that clearly reflected a lot, the whole vaccine politics, and the
serious vaccine politics,
and the fact that a lot of countries, particularly the Africa countries, poor countries, are in there like 10 and 12% vaccination. They just don't have it. So we're not out of the woods at all. But one thing I want to make, I was moved, Brenda, by one person. I was walking across Melville Street, and this person called me up and said, "Hey, Mr. Campbell, hey, what's happening?" He said, you guys wouldn't know it, but I look at your program, and that's why I took the vaccine.
Wow.
I said, really? That's why you took the vaccine?
Oh my God.
You should take the vaccine because.
Oh, my skin is.
So I'm saying that don't underestimate the impact, because I think consistently, there's one thing you could say about perspective, consistently, week after week, the majority of our time, a lot of our time went in dealing with the pandemic,
and a lot of the guests,
a lot of the guests, So this
really
program has been consistent.
I feel proud of the job we have done.
Has been consistent.
Yeah,
and I want to say that
don't.
And another guy said to me, I look at this program because I learn stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you mean you learn stuff?
That's good.
No, I learn stuff. Say, okay, I understand. Fine, good.
Yeah, you have to set yourself apart because there are too many things. Everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think you have to set yourself apart. And people in Grenada have a penchant for comparisons and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But the fact that people can say they come because they learn, or they come or they act upon. Even if one person, that guy who said to you that he got the vaccine because he looked at the program, that's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win, and that goes at least you touched someone, and that's what you want to do. And in our society, we need to be educating more, we need to be informing more, we need to be having more civil discussions. People need to see people disagree, but still they still love each other, and disagreements are held, and you move on, because people have different positions. So I trust that's what we do here, and try to keep some decorum.
And move it to the economic aspect. And what
I thought you were moving to politics, Chris.
No, I won't get there just now. But
we go in there?
Yeah, we have to.
But I just wanted to say too, I think, the balance between life and livelihoods is never something that is simple to achieve.
No.
And the way in which our government did what they did and how they opened back up the various sectors, in order to manage the social detrimental impact that was possible if it wasn't handled a different way. Yes, we have had mental issues. Yes, we may have had issues of increased abuse in lockdowns and so on. Yes, we'd have had frustrations. But you're not seeing mass suicides, you're not seeing, a lot of these things that could be a detrimental part of the whole management. And I think that is a positive thing as well. We have outlets here in various forms, and it was very through the curfew what you did and how you could have done it, which is, I think, another instrument that was used really well. But at the end of the day, when you see what's happening at the end of the day, we have economic activity. There are a lot of businesses that entertainment has opened back up. We had a young man for the PRO, for the promoters came on the program and talk about how they were suffering and so on and so forth. And now you're seeing that easing to some degree, and people are getting out there and enjoying themselves and so on. Yes, the protocols issue need to be managed better, but you're seeing that, and I think that is a positive for our people in terms of release and what is happening, and for the business community. The tourism sector has opened up, hospitality has opened up. They have strict controls in terms of vaccination and mandating the vaccination, and that is another discussion, mandatory versus not, as we had in Senate. But you could see that there was thought. That is my thing. And coming from a background, Brenda, we keep forgetting that in business or even at your home, if you have never seen a situation that comes into your home, that's something you have never seen before, you are left in a kind of void as to understand how to deal with it and how to go forward with this thing. And you're hoping that the decisions you make will give you the kind of results that you think are correct. And we keep forgetting that. We've come from a situation where there was no evidence of how this was handled at all. And you're shooting in the dark, you're shooting off your hip, but you have to hope that the information you have and the decisions you're going to make are going to lead to the benefits that you want.
Right back to Senator Cox's statement again.
That's right. And we forget these things, both on the economic side as well as on the the other side of dealing with what has happened. So those are things I think we need to mention, I think, as highs for 2021. And we have had the lows, and but generally I think we have managed it well. And I think we are seeing the benefits towards the end of this year.
Just this weekend, I paid some attention because I really like to wrap my head around things. Right? No matter how I feel about a thing, a person, I always like to get the full. So I'm looking, and everywhere you go, a friend of mine sending me pictures of Grenville. She's in Grenville like around 5 o'clock Saturday, and she's sending me the madness. That was Grenville. But it's good madness. Because people are out and they're in stores and they're shopping. And then I'm looking at Grand Dance where I was, and I'm seeing the frenzy as well. And people are buzzing and so on. I know in COVID, when you went out and there was a lot of people milling around, shopping, trying to get their, not shopping really, but getting groceries, essentials. You notice the strain on everybody's faces and how their shoulders dropped and everything. But as I looked on this weekend, people had what I would like to refer to as a pep in their step, so to speak. And they were a bit, their shoulders were up, and they were buying things, and people had their children, and you know, a lot of them wasn't wearing masks. I have to put that in. But you know, people were, and I said to myself, why is this happening? And then I was like, you know, the government was onto something. The fact that I think people got paid on Friday, right? So they got a double salary on Friday, and then all the people who got the stimulus and so at the end of, so all of that money that was given out. So you give this hand, it now coming back. You know, and it is just like, and it was just like, and that is what, because I am no economist, I'm emotional. And sometimes I strip my emotion to look at things in a dispassionate way. But I looked at it and I said, no. For all we say about the government and things they get wrong and so on, this makes sense. The fact that we had all these issues, but here you put money back into the hands of your people, no matter, albeit whatever small, or whoever say it needs to be more, or why now is election, matters not. It is going back, and I looked at, they were going into business places, they were going, so the private sector is benefiting from it. So if they just look at the budget as somebody, you can't just look at the budget as a private sector person and say, oh, there's nothing in there for me. Your December books will not reflect that. It will reflect the opposite. I just thought I'd say that.
Looking at something, Brenda. But I want to touch on politics a little bit, but I want to make a point on the economics.
Gosh, we have to break shopping to politics.
Ooh, it's important. New leadership and all that. We must touch on that. That was significant for the year. But I was on social media side on the weekend. I mean, farmers were asking about the traditional bonus, you know, because nutmeg bonus in the years certainly. I was growing up, made a difference or determined the quality of Christmas that our family had, you know. And that tradition has remained in some regards, and a lot of people look forward, farmers, producers look forward to a Christmas bonus. But the reality is, and I mean, I'm not preempting the board, but from what I see is this, that it's been a difficult year, again, COVID related, how the price moved. Price is shifting up now, but that's for production that's coming, you know. But in terms of a trading year, I mean, the GCNA are in significant overdraft, and this is public information situation. So and it's been paying about $3 advance for nutmeg, which in my view is a bit more than what the market. So in other words, your advance is a bit higher. And the normal business, you would have reduced your advance to, let's say, $2 to allow for a bit more at the end of the year, say a bonus. But because of a high advance relative to the market price, there is no resources for the GCNA, in my view, to afford a bonus. And I don't think that it's prudent management or business to borrow funds to support a bonus. So this is going to be a hardship. This is going to be a difficult period
but
for
the decision to
producers.
pay a higher price, I think, would have being related to the difficulty farmers are facing.
That's correct, exactly. So you maintain,
let's give you relief right now.
You maintain an artificially high price so that to maintain a certain livelihood level to the farmers during the year. So I think farmers must understand the dynamics of that business model.
And I just want to chip in and add, Mr. Campbell, how does the GCNA as an organization and the farming community get that communication to farmers and that level of understanding? Because like you, across social media, I noticed, because I know quite a few farmers, and I noticed the conversation, and you know how we are humans. So they saw policemen and teachers and everybody collecting their double salary and they feel left out because they are the ones that are used to this bonus. So they're not wrapping their heads about we've had a tough year and they've done this to augment us and so on and so forth. So now it's incumbent upon the organization to help them to understand that. So there is no rancor.
And it's similar to the fishing sector and economics, and we are plagued with freight issues for getting our stock of fish out. In the past week, we had boats going to Martinique to St. Vincent, some going to Trinidad. Our boats were anchored in Grand Mall and surrounding areas for over a week, as much as 2 weeks, collecting icing their fish with the uncertainty of a marriage jet coming into the country. And so here's the association is saying, well, the members are saying, well, can we have something for Christmas? But you're in overdraft. You can't get your fish out, in terms of your freight issue. So it's a problem for both the fishing sector and the agriculture sector, particularly with the nutmeg. But that is a reality with the nutmeg. You've been operating with relatively high, so you've been borrowing money to pay that higher advance price that you've been getting of $3. And so with that overdraft, high, hefty overdraft facilities you can't borrow for the money to pay out. But the price is going in the right direction.
That overdraft
that's a good thing. How you get that overdraft. I know also that there's been negotiations with the GCNA and the government regarding a $2 million loan, but this is being negotiated because I think what the government is saying essentially is, look, let us agree. Because I think there's a new committee being formed, cabinet approval for the discussion to happen. But let us agree in principle that we would engage in this endeavor, looking at the asset allocation, to the farmers, because this is key. Who owns the asset? So there's a lot of technical work that has to be carried. So as far as I know, they have not signed the documents yet for the transfer of this loan, but I think there's a general understanding, my view in the GCNA, for that facility to happen. So I think with that loan, soft loan going forward, I think this would really help a lot bridging the gap, particularly with the high overdraft cost and so on. But the prices are looking good in the international market because of the issues in the Indo-China area. So for Grenada, 2022, as we project, looks better.
Positive.
I think the immediacy, though, is to have you. They had their annual general meeting yet?
No, and this has been delayed. And you see, like COVID, so your books are being delayed because of COVID issues. So everything is downstream.
Needs to happen.
So whereas there would have been
conversation with the body,
exactly. Whereas there would have been area meetings around now last week. This is now being put forward to a further date, possibly January, thereabout.
You see, what is happening here now is that there's a certain amount of anxiety on the negative side.
So
that is building.
Communication is important. I think those associations could do better with the social contact and information, greater understanding by the owners, the nutmeg growers.
So you're ready to switch to the politics now?
Yeah, the politics. Big this year. This year, we've had new leadership within the NDC. I mean, and the whole euphoria around it. And I recall Sandra's, I tease her that article who says, look, leadership is not... it's not parachuted from the top, from the sky. I mean, this is something that's growing. You have to answer questions: what you've defended, what has been your struggle, what has been your conversation, where you count, and in the absence of those things, she's saying, I have doubts. I need to know these things. So I thought it was interesting, on this young, the youthful, I won't call it a search, but the youthful voices, or the need for us to focus more on youth. And I think that when we look at the history of Grenada, youth has always played an important role in the history of Grenada and in various politics, going back to the revolution. And what we saw in the revolution is interesting, is that the revolution had not more than a surge. I recall persons in their 50s and 60s were removed from the system, and young persons came in. You know, it was unsustainable, because what was removed there was the wisdom and the intergenerational voices and collaboration. And in hindsight, something was missing.
I hope we learned.
We need to be careful here. And I think it was Gloria Payne Banfield. I'll call her out. She was on a Beyond the Headlines news, and she was saying she was not angry but concerned about the trend she was seeing, and persons. She was making the point that you have to represent all generations here. You have to talk about all generations. Each generations have an interest, and how you balance this out. So I think new youth leadership, or leadership altogether, must be cognizant of these factors, you know. But clearly, to conclude this, I think that party has been in a lot of straits for a number of years, and they've done something dramatic. Time will tell whether this will lead to success or not, and what are the implications?
Yeah, well, for me, again, it was about leadership too.
Yeah.
I thought the appointment of the youth versus what we are accustomed to in terms of more senior leadership and what has happened was something that is going to be examined in greater detail as we go forward in the political year. 2022 is obviously going to be a very active political year. Campaign
shaping up to be.
And really questioning whether or not what type of leadership we're looking for. I agree with you that the intergenerational thing and the balance of senior leaders with youthful leaders is something that is to me the ideal, because both sides bring one. The youthful bring energy and new perspectives. The older generation will bring experience and knowledge that you wouldn't necessarily have, so you need to marry both. So I think is probably the best mix. As to how the voting populace responds to this is going to be the interesting thing as we move forward, and how the campaigns emerge and what. To me, a lot will be said about who the candidates are as they put them forward. A lot will be said to me on what their manifestos are going to reveal, and so on. I think the incumbent has an advantage in the sense that during this crisis, how they have managed, as I've said before, and that gives them some level of advantage in terms of we know how to handle things, difficult situations. The other side may not have that experience. You need that now to go for. So all of these machinations and strategies that will come forward, I think, to attract people to the polls and to see how that goes. So 2022 politically is going to be an interesting year for us, and how we see what happens there. But I am always of the view, Byron, and I keep saying this and I keep saying it. I think we need to drill our leaders. We need to have them in debates. We need to have the public call them out on policy issues, call them out on strategy issues. Where are you going to, how are you going to manage this economy? What are the sectors you're going to use? You know, and those type of things, and have hard questions be asked. We tend to, you know, engage in what I say, song and dance politics, where we have these big campaigns, we have music, and all that is good, and so on, to get people upbeat. But we must engage in real issues as well, you know, and how we plan to deal, because I would like to see, I would like to engage somebody to tell me what you're going to do in my economy in the next 5 years. What are the sectors? How are you going to use the 2035 plan to move the economy? Or are you throwing it in the garbage bin? What is happening? So we need to...
Issues.
And I think we need to focus on some of those as we go forward, and see how, you know, who is the best person we think will emerge to lead us as we go forward. So I look forward to what is going to happen on that front in terms of the issues and what is going to come out when we question and have, at least be given the opportunity to question them in different fora. And I suspect as we move forward in 2022 with perspectives, we're going to see a little more of them
we
coming on the program.
We will?
I think so. I think it's something we need to encourage. Bring them here and start the questioning here and, invite them to make presentations.
I look forward to that, Chris.
Yeah. I think that is a way we need to go. And, perspectives is about broadening knowledge and broadening the information that is available to people. To make a proper decision.
An informed public.
And that is what we are about. So we must entertain.
We must.
Yeah, and entertain
perspectives
them.
is not one-sided.
We give it...
Perspectives itself, it means difference of how you view things.
And I see that as an interesting time coming
forward. So I was trying to stay away from having a perspective on the politics, but I guess I must. Because my silence is obvious. So here it is. Because we went there. I think for the NDC, one of Grenada's largest political organizations, historically, they have held the reins of power, for a couple of times this century, that it started to wane and it started to look as less than, they were. I mean, for a party that was built on, people worked hard to build and so on, it started to look a little stale and sound a little, and the leadership seemed to be a real issue. So from where I sit, I think what has happened within the NDC as an organization has been a really good thing. Since it has happened, I think the party has become energized in order to have, these shift changing moments. You normally need to turn things up. So I think they would go through a bit of that. What they need to manage, I believe, and I'm not here to give them any advice, but what they need to manage is because there is a stigma of that kind of upheaval attached to them, and then what they're attempting to do in order to set themselves on the right course to proceed in a new dispensation. That will be a challenge in terms of managing. But I think that Deacon Mitchell becoming the leader, I think is a really good thing for the organization. I think to have a competitive political party to the NNP is good for Grenada and our democracy. And I think for the first time in years, we probably have some great excitement and different, points of views and so on in the politics.
It also forces NNP to respond to that issue of succession planning and the whole issue of management of youthfulness versus experience. So
to be honest, I don't think NNP should be forced to respond to what NDC does. I think NNP needs to do what NNP needs to do. And so all those stories that have been written and people making these pronouncements, I think that is something that NNP needs to take care of. NNP as a party, if we're truthful, is intergenerational in its scope. But we know that it's at a point now where that this person who have been at the helm for so long, it is now time to. So we want to see what we don't want them to suffer the same absolute correct. So that's what I'm saying. You don't need to be pushed to do it because anybody else is doing it.
You should do it anyway.
It
But
should be done anyway.
Well, even before. If we agree. So I think that has to happen now. That
if you look at this weekend newspaper, major newspaper, front page, just a weekend newspaper, had in fact 3 pictures there. They had Peter David.
I didn't read it, and the NNP shouldn't even respond to it.
Akima Paul and Minister Emlyn Pierre. No, I'm just saying that's what the newspaper had.
It speaks to the fact that that's a thinking that's happening now. So that is clearly what it is.
But you quote inside sources and inside who and just say all the wrong things. I mean, what credence does it add to it? But I guess it's good for debate,
But something I
as avid a reader as I am, I don't read everything. I'll just say that.
Something I noticed, and a lot of persons might not have observed it, but our political leader, the Prime Minister, participated in two significant meetings. Alba. And the other one was that meeting that the President of the United States had for democratic institutions. I mean, these 2 organizations, if you could call it that, are on different opposites. So I thought it was interesting. But that says something about Grenada in terms of our independence, that we can participate in what we want to without thinking or without looking back. And I think that was a bold move.
Errol
and I congratulate the PM for that.
Friends of all, satellites of none.
I congratulate our Prime Minister for that.
You land down in Havana, Cuba, and you're gone to Alba. You address the Alba, and you see how great it is. And then you talk to Biden and whoever, and thank you.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, I think it shows the thinking on the foreign policy of the country.
Absolutely.
Which is
progressive.
Progressive. You're friends of all to see, because at the end of the day, we need everybody to be our friends and to see how we can get the best of our country. And some people may say we're good beggars, but that is beyond the point. The point is you have to be friends with everybody, because we offer something as well. When we are friends. So it's not just that, but I think it speaks to the foreign policy and how the current government is shaping their foreign policy, and that is something that needs to be emulated as well. And
excellent.
You
get high marks from me.
Another thing I paid attention to. Grenada is really a great friend of Cuba.
Has always been.
And the way Cuba, I noticed when Prime Minister Mitchell landed in Cuba, he really got a fanfare that the others did not get. To be honest, he did. He got a fanfare that the others did not get.
Grenada always have a special place in the heart of Cubans because of our history with the revolution, the airport. And
sometimes I find the friendship lopsided. I don't think we do enough to reciprocate.
And probably so.
Cuba has really been
everywhere you see the medical, in the engineering, in the technical, in health. I mean, everywhere.
Look, once that Grenada flag goes up in Cuba, it's like if it's a big deal.
It's
a big deal. So I'm happy that he took the time and he actually flew and didn't do it by Zoom.
That's a big deal.
And
I saw this and I said, wow, that got a wow.
Yeah. Of course, it got a wow.
So as we end now, Brenda, I want to say thanks to all of you in public. For entertaining us for the year so far. And I want to wish everyone out there a safe, enjoyable season. And those of us who believe in a supreme being to continue to recognize that. And I think in general, Grenada has had a good year, but we have had our issues, but we have had generally a good year. We ending here positively. We had a lovely moonlight last night, and it was great to know I could be in a place where I could go outside and enjoy the moonlight.
Why didn't you go outside?
I went outside. I don't know about you.
I was outside.
So
I was outside where I live in.
Right. So I just want to say good wishes to everyone. Have a good new year and keep doing what we're doing. Look at our behaviors as COVID is here with us for quite a long while, and we need to manage that going forward. And please vaccinate those of us who have not. Please take the step and vaccinate. So, to all our background staff in Perspectives, I wish them the best as well. Richie and the team and Nazim and all of them. I think these guys have done an amazing job, and they continue to do a great job. So guys, continue doing it. Once we are wrong, we'll continue to support and do what we can.
Chris, it's cold as that? I mean, these guys we're not gonna have a drink, guys? I mean, like...
Well, I see you bring pepper here from here. I know if you want to bring the pepper. So
and Brenda is going to talk about this GCNA. But I'm not, Chris, clearly you're showing signs of being a politician. I mean, you had this long speech wishing people Merry Christmas and all that. But you have the potential, Chris.
You think?
Clearly. You see, unlike me, even though I have the potential, I'm on notice. Gemma said she's going to leave me promptly. If I
have the same thing from my wife. She's going to leave me instantly. So Gemma and my wife probably having conversations we don't know about.
So I have no choice in this matter.
Strain on the family and relations.
No choice in this matter. But I want to also join with you in wishing all a Merry Christmas. There's a caveat though. I will say moderation. This is not a time for extremes. But family comes together, and that's a good thing. I know we, with the neighbor, we come together and we cook together and share and so on. So it's just and as Brenda, as you said earlier on, it's such I like the vibes. People are more outgoing.
Sweet.
So I look forward to that. It's a holiday, and enjoy your holiday. Be safe all. And take your vaccination. Be vaccinated. It's important. Those of you who qualify for the boosters, take the boosters. and the protocol is important. So in wishing Merry Christmas, still be careful, be cautious.
Absolutely. And before you eat, make sure you have in your kitchen the GCNA, that's Grenada nutmeg seasoning. All right, make sure this is in your pork and everything for the Christmas. All right, pork the pig, and then the dry meat rub. All right, your ribs and whatever. Some of you who going and catch a manicou and all of that,
now it's
you
pork
sort
season.
it
Now
out
it's
today.
pork season.
Right, but Grenadian have manicou in their fridge, right? The hot sauce. Right? Remember, you can't do your Christmas ham without the hot sauce. And all these great additives come to us from the GCNA. Yeah. If you're visiting, you're coming home for the season, please go to their location, the GCNA complex, All Things Nutmeg, and you're going to find all these great products and more there. And make sure you add into your Christmas bars, at home bars and your activities, the GCNA cooler. Yeah, that's really, really good. Try that out. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to leave you here, everyone. We're going to leave you here. Thank you so much for a great, great year. All the listeners, all the viewers, you die-hard Perspective fans out there. All right. Thank you so much for waking up every Monday morning and tuning in to Perspectives. We truly appreciate you. We couldn't do this without you. Thanks for all the feedback that you send in or whenever you meet anybody you mention. Thank you so much for it. We sincerely appreciate it. Remember, as we celebrate the season, remember why we are celebrating, and just be as careful and as cautious as we can. Although the regulations have been lax a bit, we should still wear our masks, trying to maintain our distance, and sanitize. They're a great group of individuals who put us on the air every single Monday morning. We must say special thanks to them, and by extension, their families. Imagine your husband leaving the bed 4 o'clock on a Monday morning. It's not an easy thing, right? Those of you with the husbands, I wouldn't know about that. So we must say thank you to Mrs. Tessa Oliver, who allows her husband, Richie Oliver, to wake up and come out every Monday morning. Raquel Benjamin, thank you. Allow Nazim to come out every Monday morning and say he's going to Perspectives, and you know he's going to Perspectives, right?
Yes.
And to Blondell, to your wife as well. Right? Thank her very, very much, and thank you guys for showing up. Cook, I know about the wife bit yet, but wherever you're waking up on Monday morning, come here. Whoever it is, thank you very much. We appreciate Cook. And Curlin, whenever you show up as well, thank you so very, very much. Have a good holidays, everybody. This is our last program for the year. Again, thank you. Thank you to Mikey Live. Thank you to TNR Communications, Partygrenada, KG9, Sister Island, carriacou. Thank you so much. Great parang in carriacou last night. Congratulations, guys. It was fantastic. Yeah. And to MTV, who carries us on air, online, and use our content in your news stories and other broadcasts. Thank you so very much. Merry Christmas to all of you and your families. Stay safe. Make Christmas about us. Until we see again, I'm Brenda Baptiste. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.